Welcome to the video, guys. As I covered in a video yesterday, the Remainers can't handle what is going on right now. They are screaming from the rooftops, and we're not just talking about politicians here, though we are talking about some former ones. We are talking about people on Twitter, you know, the usual sorts that scream and shout whenever anything related to Brexit comes up, despite the fact that they've already lost. This is because they have decided to start an online campaign to rejoin the EU, which has also been furthered by arch Ramona Anna Soubry, who seems to have dragged herself away from the bottle long enough to appear on LBC yesterday, where she actually had the audacity to claim that we would rejoin the EU within 10 years because of the younger generation, which anyone with half a brain cell will know is not likely to happen because of a variety of reasons we'll go over in a minute. Well, the first of the articles we're going to look at headlines: Desperate Remainers launch online bid to rejoin the EU after final extension deadline. Desperate Remainers have launched an online bid to rejoin the EU after the deadline to extend the Brexit transition period expired. EU supporters expressed their woes on social media after the clock struck midnight and Britain could no longer request a Brexit delay. They hit out at the criminals that colluded to make Brexit happen, as the UK finally ruled out a delay to unshackling itself from the bloc. Now, I love how they're calling people criminals when 17.4 million people voted to leave the EU, regardless of what any campaigners or politicians said during the referendum campaign. The only people it would appear that are swayed by the media and politicians is the left-wing losers we see screaming from the rooftops every day, not just in relation to Brexit. Take a look at what's been going on over the last month. As we all know, Britain's transition period ends in December. Remainers took to social media to complain of a desperately sad day. One said, "Let's hashtag rejoin the EU." Well, you can do that, you know, you can move over to the European Union right now, no questions asked. No one will stop you, we will wave you off. Another Ramona tweeted, "Last night, this far-right authoritarian government stole the rights for you, your children and your grandchildren to live, work, study and retire in 27 European countries." Well, that's a load of nonsense. You'll still be able to do these things after Brexit, even if it was a no-deal Brexit, but they just won't be using the freedom of movement that we currently have. And as for calling the Tory government a far-right authoritarian government, that shit is just laughable. We have seen them practically bending the knee to the media at every opportunity, worried about what they will say, forgetting of course the fact that they have an 80-seat majority. In December, your rights to access life-saving meds and freely available fresh food will go to what world are you living in? These Remainers are so far stretched from reality, it is unreal. Another Remainer added, "Today, I have no witticisms or rants to share. I am too angry with the criminals, but that is what they are, who colluded to make Brexit happen, and too heartbreaking at all that we are losing. Hashtag rejoin the EU. The salt coming off these fuckers is hilarious, and I am absolutely loving it. I'll go and get me pickaxe, it's time to start mining." Another said, "No extension, which should horrify anyone with a conscience. Real hardships will result. But Brexiteers should take it a lot harder than Remainers. Their project just got sabotaged. Life outside the EU will now definitely be awful, and after the pain and chaos, we will rejoin the EU. No, you bloody won't, unless of course you move over there yourself. The UK will never rejoin the EU, that is for sure. The people of this country will make sure of that." The article itself continues here away from the Remainers, their voices added to a rally of Brexit panic, sweeping through the Remainer camp, with Anna Soubry warning a no-deal outcome between the UK and EU is perilously close. Good. Now we will get on to what Anna Soubry actually said in a completely different article, because there is a little bit more information in that one. And here it is. Anna Soubry in harrowing EU prediction that the UK will rejoin in 10 years. It's not really harrowing. This woman has consistently been on the wrong side of the argument at every point. You have to remember she was once a government minister who betrayed her party and the people, moved to become an independent and then created the failed Independent Group for Change, which absolutely no one is paying any attention to because it is now gone, resigned to the shitter of history. The former Tory MP has claimed history will record Brexit as a terrible mistake and that the British public is incredibly fed up with it. Where is she getting this information from? No doubt her Twitter feed, which is just full of people that will echo exactly exactly what she wants to hear. I expect she'll block or get arrested anyone who disagrees with her. She does have previous for such things. Anna Soubry, who stood down from the Conservatives to form Change UK, went on to predict the EU will want the UK to adopt the euro if the country rejoins. Well, we're never going to be doing that. Her comments come as Boris Johnson refused to ask for a Brexit deadline extension as it passed on Tuesday. Speaking to LBC, Miss Soubry said, "When our economy suffers in the most dreadful way, everything will be blamed on coronavirus, when undoubtedly some of it will be on the fact we've left the European Union. Well, considering the EU can't even sort out their bailouts, I would suggest you are flat wrong. It is the stuff of madness, but we are where we are. The stuff of madness was you ever being elected as a politician, but I suppose that's just the way the system is." She thinks it's a terrible tragedy and thinks how history will record it, our country has made a terrible mistake. No, I think you'll find it will be completely the other way around. It will show this country made the best decision it could and other countries will likely follow suit. Hopefully sooner rather than later. She added, "I'm a realist and the reality is we've left the European Union." Oh, so you finally lived up to that reality though? You are still living in the fantasy politics land that Joe Swinson dreamed up, thinking we will rejoin the EU. I don't think there's an appetite at large for some movement that would win widespread support for us to rejoin the EU because we haven't fully left yet. And even when we have, you better believe it, there still won't be widespread support for that. The silent majority has spoken. That is the end of it. She went on, "I think it will be my children's generation that do that. I think we'll be back in the EU in 10 years time, as I've already said, which is complete and utter bollocks." Now, as for the 10 years time thing, she is basing this on her children's generation and the fact that they are much more EU loving. Well, I have to say, after a period of time, as people get older, they certainly usually get smarter and move away from them sort of politics and more towards the conservative style of politics. Even if they never support the Conservative Party, they certainly wouldn't support something like the European Union. From my experience of people, it seems to be the natural progression as people go through different stages of life, get older, get smarter, and become more mature and aware of what's really going on in the world. Most lefties and Remainers, for that fact, are the sort that are completely deluded and just believe whatever they hear on Facebook like it's actually the truth, following snivelling shitweasels like Anna Soubry here down the bottom of a bottle. She went on, "Of course, we will never get the unique and very special and very good deal that we once had. No, we will have a better one. It's called not being in the EU. No doubt the EU will say if you want to rejoin, you have to join the Euro. You've got to join Schengen. We're in a unique position, but there's no point in looking backwards. We've got to look to the future." Well, that is what you're doing here, talking about rejoining. That is looking backwards, you complete snivelling shitweasel. And the rest of the article there just goes on about shit to do with the EU we've already covered. We don't need to go over it in this. As you can see though, the Ramonas are out in force, led by Anna Sozelberry, who has managed to pull herself away from the bottle to come out and complain about Brexit, even going as far as to say that we will rejoin in 10 years time, which is just nonsense. The people of this country will make sure that never happens, much like you becoming an MP again, that is for sure. Now, I'll tell you what, these Ramonas screaming and crying is only going to continue as the weeks and months pass on. Make sure you've got your pickaxes ready. We are going to be salt mining for a long time yet. But as always, I want to say a massive thank you to everyone who supports the channel, and my other social media links are down in the video description if you want to come and support me on Twitter, BitChute, and a variety of other platforms, including my second YouTube channel. As I said, all links are down in the video description.
There is a pattern consistent throughout history of oppressed people turning on the oppressors, slaves against their owners, the peasantry against the feudal barons, colonies, Mr. Verhofstadt, against their empires, and that is why Britain is leaving. And it doesn't matter which language you use, we are going, and we are glad to be going. We're off.